Hello folks, it is time for some Hobby Nightmares. It is Friday, let's get on with it, shall we? Won't be too much of a long one today, that's what she said, because, well, I've got a lot on today, lots of teaching to do, and we have a very busy weekend ahead in the House of North. So, we're getting into it, but first and foremost, as we are doing every day this week, as a little change, we are doing an event in June, and that is the Exile Fest tournament that is going on the 21st of June of this year here in Liverpool. It is at Just Play Games, an amazing local store with a fantastic upstairs area where we will all be hanging out, playing a one-page rules tournament, Warhammer 40,000 Grimdark Future themed, of course, with the prizes for the top 3 ranked players, and a night out in the city afterwards with yours truly, where we will drink copious amounts of beer and set the world to rights, probably talking about models and nerddom and all sorts of other things. If you're interested in that, or you're in the UK at the time, or you live in the UK and you fancy coming, email me at northernexileevents@gmail.com. That is northernexileevents@gmail.com with your army choice that you're bringing on the day, your name, and your contact number. You don't need to send me your list up front. I will get back to you with a welcome packet, and then you can send me your list whenever you're ready towards the time of the tournament. Right? Cool. Awesome. Hope you all have fun with that, and let's get on with the Hobby Nightmares. With our first one being from Asterion. Okay. Dear Norm of the North, please call me Asterion. Thank you very much, my friend, for putting that in bold for me at the very start. Good for you. You listened. Good lad. I have to start by saying how much I absolutely love your YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Your content has been such a large source of entertainment and insight, not just for me, but for so many others in the hobby community. The way you blend humour, relatable hobby struggles, and your unique storytelling style has genuinely enriched my life. Well, that's really cool, dude. Thank you very much. I find myself quoting you regularly, often bringing up some of the hilarious hobby nightmares you've shared with your audience, much to the confusion and amusement of my friends and co-workers. I imagine you had a field day with the Space Marine who got lost in somebody's backside. There's one story in particular that always gets me. The one where you... the one where the girl stole your friend's hat, and he spent the whole night drunkenly emailing her trying to get it back. I nearly ran off the road listening to that one. I was laughing so hard. Your ability to bring these stories to life with such wit and honesty makes your channel stand out in the best way possible. Well, thank you very much, dude. Yeah, and I still dine out on that story. Every dude out there, right? Like, here's how men work. If women are struggling to understand how cruel men can be to each other, if you see one of your best friends, like one of your brothers, getting into trouble, and he's not in immediate danger, but, like, you know, he might embarrass himself, or something really bad might happen, but it might be a good story, you say nothing. You let it happen. You let it play out. And then you think, I'm going to dine out on this story. This is going to be amazing. Again, anything dangerous going on, yeah, you step in, you look after your bros, you know what I mean? But, like, anything, like seriously funny that you're thinking... Yeah, he's going to step in that verbally in a second. You let him do it. You let him do it. Let's get into the story. However, I fear I may very well be the nightmare. Alright. I've been dipping in and out of Warhammer since I was about 10 years old. I never really got into 40k, but I collected the miniatures and absorbed the lore. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody to play with at the time. Recently, however, things have changed. A few of my mates and I have started getting into Kill Team. It's taken us a while to wrap our heads around the rules, and we're still kind of figuring things out. We've had a few games, and they've been a lot of fun. I'll admit, I'm not particularly good at strategy games. I'm hopeless at RTSs, real-time strategy games, those of you who don't know, who aren't gamers. The reason I got into Kill Team wasn't for the competitive aspect, but for the miniatures and the rich lore behind the universe. Unfortunately, this is where the problem lies. One of my mates, let's call him Jay, is a very competitive and staunch rules lawyer, while I tend to lean more towards narrative-driven gameplay. Okay, you're into different things. This is a common problem with friends, yeah. I typically prefer to play my kill teams thematically. For instance, I might stage a dramatic bayonet charge with my Death Corps of Krieg rather than focusing on specific objectives. When I'm playing with my friends and I'm winning a bit too easily, I'll often make the decision to do something reckless or just plain fun to keep the game interesting. On the other hand, Jay is all about winning. There is no mercy from him, and he's extremely good at the game. He knows all of the rules back to front, he has excellent understanding of positioning and movement, and to top it all off, his team's always top tier meta, whereas most of mine tend to be mid to low tier. Jay is a genuinely nice person. He never cheats, and when he wins, it's because he's deeply familiar with his army and the rules. However, when Jay and I play, the vibe changes. Kill Team, as you know, is already an intense and stressful game at times, and playing against him often feels like an added level of pressure. His focus on winning creates a very different atmosphere compared to my more laid-back, narrative-driven approach. The issue here is that I've never really had a friend to play with before. Now that I finally do, I don't want to play with him because the game becomes more of a battle for dominance than an enjoyable experience. I feel really guilty for feeling this way, but when I'm up against him, it's less about fun and more about trying to just keep up. I've tried to keep things thematic, but I end up getting completely tabled. I realise it's unfair of me to expect him to change his playstyle to accommodate me. I've spoken to him about the idea of playing a more narrative-focused game, but he just doesn't get it. To him, Kill Team is like poker. The goal is to win at all costs. So now I'm left wondering, am I the problem? Should I just go to get better at Kill Team in order to compete with Jay, and perhaps adjust my approach to the game? Like you say, I understand that I can make the experience more enjoyable by having my own sub-objectives or thematic goals in mind, but nothing else seems to make the experience more fun. I've gone into games expecting to lose, so I'm not disappointed, but it still doesn't change the fact that the games feel stressful and kind of one-sided when I play Jay. I'm just not sure what to do. I really want to enjoy playing with Jay, but at the moment, I'm not sure how to make that happen without feeling like I'm being crushed by the competitive aspect of the game. Would love to hear your opinion on that matter. Cheers, Asterion. Okay. Yeah. I don't think you need to feel bad. I'm going to be quite honest. I honestly don't think you need to feel bad at all. This is just a clash of styles happening here. And unfortunately, when there is a narrative player and a competitive player and a clash of styles, the competitive player will always win. Why? Because he can force getting what he wants. Do you know what I mean? You can't force him to lose games. He can force you to lose games because he's better than you at the game. Do you know what I'm saying? So, in an argument between, shall we say, narrative players like me and you, and a competitive player who just wants to get better at the game, he will always win. Not the argument, but the actual, you know, the playoff of who's getting what they want out of this interaction. Because he can win the game. Like, he can actually win the game every single time, mathematically, if he wants to. We can't force him to have a good time playing narrative games. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you need to realise that's the position that you're in. And once you recognise that, then you need to make a decision. I think your main decision has to be, I think you should use Jay as a whetstone. You know what a whetstone does? It sharpens your blade, iron sharpens iron and all that, right? That's exactly what you should do with Jay. Use Jay to get better at the game and tell him that's what you're doing. Tell him you don't care about winning and that beating you is not a real achievement because you don't really care about winning. But you are there to get better at the game and you're using him to get better at the game, to learn more things, to absolutely get better. Then you need to broaden your hobby horizons and look for other opponents. I realise this isn't the easiest thing to do in the world, but depending on where you are, there will be clubs, there will be groups for Kill Team all about the place, and you will find yourself an absolute treasure trove of people to play with, especially if you're into 40k. We've recently had a story on the channel where a guy literally said, you know what, I'm going to go out and find people to play 40k with, and he created his own club, and before long, he's got 7 or 8 people that he can play with regularly, who most of them want the same thing that he does, and if they don't, he can move on to the next person. He has options, right? You need to introduce options to your hobby. Sticking around with the same person and saying, listen, I'll just play with this guy even if it makes me miserable is like not the way to solve this problem. If you want to continue playing with Jay, I would suggest using him as a whetstone. Iron sharpens iron. Use him to force your Kill Team rules to get better, your Kill Team skills to get better. When you're playing Jay, recognise that you're playing against a very competitive player and play the game he wants to. If you want to keep him around, just do that, because he will win every single time if you don't. So learn your rules, get better at the game if you want to keep playing with Jay. Otherwise, you're sitting in the hot water and just complaining that it's hot. That's not going to get you anywhere. But whilst you're doing that, if you're craving the narrative side of the game, go and find it, because Jay clearly isn't going to give it to you. If you were in a relationship with a woman, you'd break up with her, right? Or you'd be like, okay, like, you're not giving me what I need, so maybe we just be like, you know, bed buddies for a bit, and then I'll go find someone that I actually want to, you know, hang around with, right? Now, that's harsh with Jay, like he's one of your friends. I'm not saying dump Jay as a friend, no. What I'm saying is that he's not giving you what you need, so you venture elsewhere to get what you need. You still like Jay, you still want to play with Jay, but play with Jay on his own terms. You never know. You might enjoy it. You might, if you bring like a really competitive kill team to a game with him, it seems like you're hamstringing yourself here. As like as an example to Jay, like, here's how I like to play. Maybe you'd like to try it too. He's not interested in that, and he can force his good time on you by winning the game every single time. So if you want to continue playing with Jay, what I would do is make sure that you learn your rules, you get better at the game, you bring a kill team that can stand up to him, and you play a game like that with him, right? And you go and find what you want elsewhere. Again, friendships, relationships, they all work similarly on this spectrum here, right? If somebody's not giving you what you need, be nice to them, be honest with them, play ball with them if you really like them, but then look elsewhere for something that you need. Simple. As long as nobody's lying and everybody's above board, it's simple, right? And if Jay's like, oh, why are you going to play with other people? Tell him. So, well, you know, I like hanging out with you, man, but I don't really enjoy, you know, really, really sweaty games, so I went elsewhere to find non-sweaty games. Simple as, right? As long as you're honest with him. Same goes for relationships too. Somebody's not giving you what you need, either break up with them, or if they want something more casual, you go, okay, well, I'm going to go find something more substantial elsewhere. Oh, sure, we can have the casual thing, but, like, I'm going to go over here and do, you know. Life is negotiation, dude, and make sure that you are getting your end of the bargain, so to speak. Anyway, moving on. Thank you for your kind words, by the way. That was lovely. So, JB says, hi, North. How are things, mate? Oh, good, mate. Thank you very much. All things are going well. You can call me JB. Anyone who knows me will be able to recognize me from the story, so I'm not worried about remaining anonymous. Okay. This might be a big one. That's what she said. I've got a story that's not so much of a nightmare. People always say that, and then it actually is a nightmare. More of just my story of getting back into the hobby. I'm not trying to tell a sob story, but it's a story I've been trying to get off my chest for a while now. But it is Feels Friday, so here we are. To keep everything hobby related, I've included some shots of my models for the channel. I don't normally photograph my minis. My painting is potato level, and the lighting in the man cave is a bit on the warm yellow side, but I'm still proud of my efforts. Alright, well, let's have a little look, shall we? Let's have a little look at your hobby efforts. Whenever somebody says this, and they're like, yeah, my painting's not very good, it's still better than mine, and it really triggers me. Just every time. There's always odds and sods in the man cave, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Has everyone noticed in the background of these man cave photo? Yeah, dude, this painting's better than mine. Go fuck yourself. Like, it just really annoys me. My painting's potato level, so you have to excuse me. Anyway, I'm going to share these models now that look much better than yours. Right, you just... What is this? There's things in the background, though. Just the odds and sods that are in the man cave. They sequester us away, our families, don't they? They put us in the cupboard. And they go, in you go. With your toy soldiers, in you go there. You stay in there. With my mother's 95-year-old China set. You sit in there. And you can paint your little models. Like, thank you, my dear. Thank you. Dude, are people going to be cursing you in the comments? They're like, how is this guy like, nah, my painting's really bad. What other painters do you know? These are literally, you know, in a cabinet, in a glass cabinet level painting here. Very nice stuff. Ooh, Star Wars Legion. We don't often see much Star Wars Legion on the channel. Very nice. Very nice. Dude, you're a great painter. I don't know what you're on about. Like, that's ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. The story kicks off in October 2011. I was 22, an army officer, thank you for your service, and had been in Afghanistan since March of 2011. I was a forward observer, slogging around with the infantry patrols. It was my job to call in airstrikes and the like. Late one afternoon, during a firefight, my vehicle hit an IED, an improvised explosive on the side of the road, for those of you who don't know. I had been in the vehicle's rear shooter's hatch standing up, returning fire. I don't remember much about the actual explosion, but when I came to, I couldn't move my legs, and I was drowning in the halon gas from the vehicle's fire suppression system. This was a weird feeling, to be drowning in what looked like a thick fog. For me, lucky for me, the guys got me out and evac'd me on a Black Hawk while they were under heavy fire. Wow. Dude. At the time, I didn't know, but I'd broken my back and neck. I had a severe brain injury. I'd broken my nose and my right eye socket when my weapon was thrown up in my face by the blast. My legs had been sprayed with shrapnel, my knees were damaged, I was half blinded and my hearing stuffed. But most importantly, my balls and everything else were still attached, and I could walk, slowly and painfully. So I guess I got away pretty lucky. Dude, you got away very lucky. That was a very lucky escape. When you mentioned your balls there, I was like, oh no. No, good. Everything's in working order. Like, you must feel, when you realise what happened to you, you must be like walking around going, wow, that could have been... You know, you can actually walk after all those injuries. And there's a bit of pain every now and again. Dude, you know of guys who like lose their legs and they're like, oh my god, you know. A month or so after I got back to Australia, my mate, who had been deployed to cover my position, was shot and killed. In the same incident, 2 more of my friends were severely wounded. I felt like I had been punched in the guts. I felt directly responsible for his death. I attended the funeral, and despite my mates telling me that I wasn't responsible, the look in his mum's eyes when I spoke to her told me I was right to feel guilty. I think that look in her eyes broke my heart. Dude, what are you supposed to do? Like, you can't... Okay, I need to say this to soldiers who are watching this right now, alright? You need to stop being heroes all the fucking time. Alright? You need to kind of learn when things are your fault, and you need to take responsibility for them. Like, so many soldiers I know are like, no, I'm a man, and I take responsibility for things that are going wrong. That's my call. I did the wrong thing there. I was stupid, and I got that other guy killed. I'm going to take it on myself, so nobody else has to worry about it. Right? It's my problem, my fault. I'm the man. I'm the guy. I'm the big daddy here. No one else has to worry about that. That guy died because of me. Alright? Cool. Everyone hate me. It's all cool. I can take it. Right? No. Like, stop with that shit, okay? This was not your fault. Like, this was, like, absolutely couldn't be further from you being your fault. Okay? You were literally nearly killed doing your job. And you were sent home probably against your wishes, because soldiers are fucking mental like that. Like, nah, I've got one leg, I'll be fine. I'll just hop around. It's all good, right? Probably against your own wishes, you got sent home. Or maybe it wasn't against your own wishes. Maybe you wanted to go home and they sent you home because they gave you no choice in the matter anyway, but you were secretly relieved when you got home. Dude, that still doesn't make you guilty. Anything. You got sent home because you couldn't fight anymore. If you were still in that war zone, you are putting your other soldiers at risk by being there. Simple, right? You did your job. You got really hurt through no fault of your own through your job, right? And you went home to recuperate. Somebody else picked up the lottery ticket that you'd thrown on the floor because you had no choice in the matter, and it came up black and they died. That sucks. It really does. But they're a soldier. They know what they're getting into, right? It's your job. Like, that's what you're there to do. That's why I respect them so much, man. Because they can be called to do this at any time. You all knew what you were getting into. This is not your fault. You did your job, right? And you also did your job by going home. That's part of your job. That's part of your job, my dude. Like, you literally, we can't have you in a war zone anymore. You are, quite frankly, a drain on resources. We need to send you home. So you do what you're bloody well told, right? And you go home. This was not your fault. You want to blame somebody, blame the governments that put you there in the first place. And also the people who shot at you. Right? Those are the people to blame. Those are the people who have the blame. Do we really need to be in a war zone like that or not? I'm not passing an opinion on that, But if you want somebody to blame, that would be the person, right? Either the people you're fighting against or the people who put you there. Okay? You are not to blame for this. Categorically. Absolutely categorically. And any sort of look you got from a grieving mother is either the mother being delirious because she's lost her son, right? Or you're seeing something that's not there. And if you actually talk to her, she'd be like, don't be an idiot. It's not your fault, right? Stop putting yourself on the cross. Stop being fucking Bono from U2. Why don't we just... By the way, guys, why don't we just nail Bono to the nearest cross? We all know he fucking wants to. Why don't we just do it? It's fine. Him and Bob Geldof. Nail them to crosses. Put them in the Middle East and nail them to crosses. That's fine. They'll love it. They'll love that. Why don't we just do it? Leave them there. Be great, right? Stop putting yourself on the cross, guys. It's not your responsibility. How do you know that guy... I'm not going to talk badly here, but how do you know that guy didn't make a mistake when he was over there? And that's what happened, right? How do you know he didn't get his guys walking into a trap? I don't know, right? This wasn't your fault, okay? Only take mental strain that is designed and appropriate for you. Things that you did wrong. Mistakes that you made. Take those bits of guilt. And if you can make it right, then look at the guilt, acknowledge it, and let it the fuck go. Okay? Self-hatred and guilting yourself, self-loathing, is leader syndrome. Do you know what I mean by that? Leader syndrome. It means you take responsibility for everybody else. You say, look, you should, I failed you there. You shouldn't have been sad. I failed you there, right? Or I should be doing better. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. It's leader syndrome. You're the Rock, and you absolutely, not the literal Rock, not Dwayne Johnson. That'd be really funny if you were, but no. You are the Rock of the people around you, and you hold yourself to very high standards. There are some times, though, when you need to realise that being that rock of a person means there are some things you don't get to feel angry about and you don't get to feel guilty about because you don't have time. Drop it. Drop it and move on. Anyway, let's get back in, shall we? My partner, we were long distance at the time, while she finished university, tried to prop me up, but I began to spiral. The army doctor I was assigned to was awful. He wouldn't prescribe anything harder than Panadol and wouldn't do anything about the pain I was feeling in my body. On top of the physical hurt, I had reacted out of my mental health to a psych. I had reached out about my mental health to a psych. That would have been my career over instantly. You know how it was. Mental health was massively stigmatized. While I kept it together at work, I began to drink heavily and take really, really stupid risks. I was drink driving and getting into stupid fistfights. My wife made me go to a private therapist off the army's books after a road rage incident where I threw my meatball sub at a lady who flipped us the bird. The only funny part of that story is the meatball sub. That's just... Take that! Cretin. It's not funny, but like that part makes me giggle. Luckily for me, in 2013 I was posted to a new unit in the same city as my partner. Also, I forgot to mention, she looks like Sydney Sweeney, while I have a face like a hat full of smashed arseholes, so I'm punching well above my weight. Dude, why are you writing to me? You're killing it. I'm about to say does she have a friend, but then I realised I'm not single. If you put Sydney Sweeney in my head, man, like my brain goes to mush. Anyway, my first day in my new unit, I collapsed at work. I was taken to the base hospital, and when my new unit doctor saw my file, I was immediately admitted to hospital for scans. 2 days later, I had my first major surgery on my back. The next few years were an absolute blur of surgeries and hospital stays. My wife was amazing, trying to literally keep me alive, but the physical pain, my deteriorating mental health, and the drugs I was being pumped full were destroying me. I'd gone from being hard as nails to broken. I'd lost a lot of mates from combat, taking their own lives or accidents. mostly as a result of them drinking and driving when they got home from deployment. The icing on the cake, in 2014, the army began the process of medically discharging me. I was lost. My wife contacted an army buddy of mine, John, in early 2014. He had his own health issues at the time and was on medical leave. My wife suggested that John and I go and get a coffee. A super cute mandate to get us both out of the house. As we were walking to the cafe, we passed the Games Workshop store. We kind of did that thing that guys do, the nerd test, that hey, did you ever play 40k? Awkward conversation. We walked into the store just for a quick look. Half an hour later, we'd played a trial game in store. I walked away with a box of Imperial Guard, he with a box of Dark Angels. This was about a week after 8th edition had come out. I'd collected Guard and Tau as a kid. My first Games Workshop mini was a Tau Hammerhead gunship and the original out of the original Imperial Armour book. Some of my best memories in high school were playing Poor Hammer 40k with my mates. Getting back into the hobby was like taking that first sip of a cold beer on a hot day. For the next few years, John and I were best mates. We hung out 3 to 4 times a year. Sometimes, why is this all in past tense? I'm not going to like where this is going, am I? Sometimes we would have a game, other times we were both too sick and pretended to paint while we watched TV. We ended up starting a club based out of the Games Workshop store near us. Since we both had cash now, we had the money to pool our resources to have a proper GW terrain, a shared airbrush and funds to keep a model arms race going. I'd buy a broadside battlesuit or a Lehman Russ, he'd buy a Land Raider, that kind of thing. We ran a few campaigns and made some good new friends. Having the hobby time to focus on, my wife beside me and my friends around me, they all kept me alive in a really dark time. Without them, I would have ended myself. Dude, when a soldier says that, they're telling the truth. Because soldiers don't really fear bullets. Don't really fear death. You know what I mean? They fear despair. If you're going to take one thing away from this episode, or this channel in general, about soldiers, they don't fear dying. They fear despair. Being lost. Civvy Street. Being lost. Being lost in the crowd. Not having the brotherhood anymore. Right? That's what they're afraid of. They don't care about bullets, right? Bombs and shit. Nah, that's fine. Whatever. I'm paid to take that. It's fine. What they can't deal with is being lost and despair and loneliness. And they don't know how to do it. These are very strong men who fight things in front of them. They're given a problem to solve and the means to do it, and they solve the problem. Eventually, right? Mental health is something that is so misty and ambiguous. Yeah, it's not something a lot of soldiers can deal with, because they're there to solve problems, and this isn't something that you can easily solve by headbutting it or shooting it or training harder or getting better at a skill. You know what I mean? It is kind of better. You can get better at it, but it takes a lot of work, dude. And you're exercising muscles as a soldier that you probably don't even have at the start, right? Anyway. By 2019, I was slowly on the mend. I had 4 major reconstructive surgeries and 40 or more minor procedures. I'd also gone into rehab to start kicking the addiction to all the pain pills I was on. As my wife and I found out, we were having a son. Things were going really well for me, but John was getting sicker. Turns out, he had stage 4 cancer, and he died in late 2020. He was cracking jokes up until the very end to keep everybody's spirits up. I miss him to this day. Again, that's tragic. As I just said, soldiers don't fear dying, dude. That's why he was cracking the jokes. Leader syndrome. I have to take on all of your sadness, even though he was the one who was dying. You know what I mean? After John died, I shut down again. I ghosted the campaigns and gaming group we'd built. I didn't care anymore. I was sick of my friends dying. I just left all my models where they were in our spare room and just didn't even look at them for months. It felt like all the fun had gone out of the hobby for me. John had given me all this hobby stuff before he died. I found I had dozens of boxes of unbuilt miniatures and 100 or so additional paints of his I wouldn't use. I ended up donating them to several high school gaming groups. I think that he'd have liked that his hobby brought joy to young punters just starting in the hobby. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's probably true. It's probably true. It wasn't until 2021 that I caught up with my best friend from high school and his brother. We got talking about the old days and playing 40k. With some gentle encouragement from my wife, again, we agreed to play some trial games. The first game day we had. I felt like I was waking up. We've been playing roughly once a month since about 2022. We've expanded the group again, and I've been trying to get involved in hobby groups based at my local friendly game store. We collectively agree that Games Workshop are shitting the bed in terms of rules and prices, so our group went thirds in a 3D printer. We have been running an ongoing 40k campaign and trying out different systems like OPR, Horus Heresy, shout out to Mr. Outer Circle, Kill Team, Adeptus Titanicus, Star Wars Shatterpoint, and Drop Fleet Commander. These days I'm doing better. I still have a lot of pain and a constant pounding headache that drives me nuts. I have minor surgeries every few months. I think I'm at over 100 separate hospital admissions now. I have pretty bad PTSD, anxiety and depression, so does everybody, right? But things are going okay. I've kicked most of the pain pills. My wife and I live with our 2 beautiful kids. My wife even turned our office into a proper man cave. I've learned to varnish my models just in case the kids get a bit too excited and decide to paint over the work I've already done. I hit the gym twice a week and have a decent job where I work with some great people. Well, I'm not sure how to wrap things up. I guess my advice to those people who listen to this story is to just keep going. Things will get better if you try. I try to keep smiling and find the joy in life. Fake it until you make it works. Try to find yourself an amazing partner who will stand by you no matter what. And no matter what you're going through, talk to your mates, cherish your friendships, and help your buddies when they're struggling. Finally, if it's okay, North, can I please thank publicly my wife, Alex, and my hobby friends Aaron, Dean, what a nice name, Mike and John. Without them, I'd be dead. Thanks for taking the time to read my story, mate. I appreciate it. JB. Okay. One thing I have to point out here is that you said that your face looked like a bunch of like punched together assholes. I also think that way, right? I think a lot of men think that way. I don't think a lot of men look at themselves and go, "Look at the state of me. What a guy." You know, I don't think a lot of men do that. Right? I think if I saw a picture of you, I'd be like, "That's a good-looking guy." You don't get an amazing-looking woman, you know what I mean, like who acts the way she does without having something about you. You know, and by the way, women find different things attractive before you start putting yourself down. Women are really cool because they like us for more than looks anyway, right? If women judged men the way that men judge women in terms of looks, none of us would ever get laid ever again. I firmly believe that. It is what it is. They like us for more. If you can set a woman's mind on fire, right, and keep her mentally engaged, and you can absolutely let her know that, you know, you have other things going on in your life apart from her, and you're a strong guy who gets on with things and handles business, that's more attractive than a six-pack. A lot more. You know? If you can handle your shit and protect her and keep her, you know what I mean? Protect your family. And, you know, if you're a raiser, you're a father, that's more sexy to a woman than, like, all the six-packs in the world. It really is. And the only people that don't believe that are the ones who are butthurt because they don't have six-packs and they think that that's the answer. When really, you need to grow a personality and a pair of balls to approach women and work at it and get better at it. Anyway, I love you a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will speak to you on Sunday when we are going to be talking about the... in fact, no, Sunday. We're a week off this Sunday. Yes, we're doing a week off this Sunday. I have family things to be getting on with. So, a week this Sunday, we will be discussing the Lost Legion. So that is the Sunday, the 26th. We will be discussing the Lost Legion, the 11th Legion, in a 40k rant live on stream. So be there for that one. I love you a long time. Please make sure that you take a note of our tournament that is going on 21st of June. Here it is on the screen once more, just for your information's sake. I love you all a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.